It's showtime. And I wanted to flip this around and show you what it looks like here. We've got weather wars, I would say. Many of you know about this. Chemtrails, or geoengineering, as some fondly refer to it. So what I wanted to do is just show you a little bit about what this looks like, and I want to go ahead and unpack some of the important details of what we're, I believe, living in right now at this point in human history. As far as we know, an unprecedented kill grid of 5G being mandated, being rushed through in spite its harm to humanity, obviously. And what I wanted to do is go ahead and expound on some of that. Now, what I have found out more recently is there is some practical steps that we can take to mitigate some of the chemical assault on us. And that has to do with putting the good stuff in and keeping the bad stuff out. And part of the good stuff would be baking soda is a natural element. So is boron. Don't let 20 Mule Team Borax scare you away. Yeah, it's in the laundry department. You can actually, in Walmart, or you can actually order it on Amazon. It's kind of interesting. I found out, and this is kind of a little bit of an update of what I've done. There's a little bit of a bitterness to the water when it's got just the a quarter teaspoon of boron in it, borax. And it's one of the most abundant naturally occurring elements. You can look it up. On the elemental table, I believe it's B. What you can look at, though, too, is the fact that I've got documentation on my channel and on my Facebook page, which is another whole very important way of disseminating information. There's a lot of people that watch YouTube videos. I watch a lot of them. And then but there's not as many active producers and content sharers directly through that network. What Facebook has apparently right now is about 2 billion users. And yeah, we'll get updates on what they're some of them use it for very different purposes. Mine is primarily to disseminate life-changing information for eternity. That's what I've been about for the last 5 years. So what I did more recently is integrate a quarter teaspoon of baking soda in my highly purified water. And that's what's in here right now. A quarter teaspoon of baking soda and the boron in 1 gallon of water. Those are the amounts that are appropriate for my body weight and water consumption. There are tables that you can look at that break this down a bit too. I'm going to flip it around and show you what it looks like merging onto Highway 31 here in the Myrtle Beach, South Carolina area. Kind of neat optical delight, isn't it? Folding the corner. That's what you do when you want to go really fast and change the contour or the shape of the corner. In motocross racing, what I found out was the person that waits the longest to hit the brakes normally gets to the corner first. And that's part of the dynamic with, metaphorically, what I'm doing now too. I don't have a manila envelope I would want somebody to pass on to the authority to somebody somehow. Get it to the media. No, it's not. They don't want my manila envelope. I don't have one. I go live and I talk about what I find out, and I'll share it day in, day out, because this information has a very short shelf life, because the producer of it, although I'm an eternal being and I'm all is well with my soul. I'm good to go. I just wanted to let you know that this information that I'm putting out there is some of the most important information that I've come to find out. As beneficial as it is to know that we're not on a spinning water sphere, that's one thing. That just proves that the supposed experts are lying on massive proportions. However, there is a Terminator Matrix kill grid that is being assembled all around us. We got a fast mover coming up. He's on a motorcycle. During Bike Week, we'll have motorcycles here that go over 200 miles an hour. That's why they put cameras on Highway 31. He's right on me. That's cool. I'm gonna do something a little bit different, and I wanted to take us downtown daytime. Sometimes I'll go out at night. We'll see some of the families in that out here now. I don't know if I'm going to make the green. I think I will. Yeah. Oh yeah. Awesome. Changing the shape of the corner is what that is. They've got what's called defensive driving. When I'm in the car, I've got the doors locked, and it may come in real handy to have some of the skills that I have. I would go live in a heartbeat if I needed to, and I might do that on Facebook. One of the dynamics, I believe they changed the metrics for subscriber counts to go live mobile on YouTube. I think the last I heard, you need 1,000 subscribers to go live with the mobile app on YouTube. However, anybody can go live on Facebook, and then you download the broadcast and then upload it to YouTube. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. The thing though is, because I've got so much, here he comes. I'll show him to you. I'll let him in. That's 140 mile an hour motorcycle or so. The Hayabusa they'll bring that are really modified with a lot going on. They'll go 230, some of them, miles an hour. It's kind of a trip. It's for me, when I raced professional level motocross and then stopped that because of life challenges. It was a drug withdrawal. Adrenaline is a high-powered, naturally occurring endorphin. There's actually a symphony of powerful neuroregenerative neurotransmitters in the brain. They change who we are, how we think. For example, a life that spends a lot of focus on fantasy is going to have a little more challenge, may have a little more challenge with the interface of the reality. And an example of that would be video gamers that can't seem to get out in real life, and then other video gamers that'll make a living at it, and that's part of the deal. That's part of it. It changes. But then, what I was talking about earlier today, too, is that the hypersexualization of our society has transformed the way humanity even looks, not only in the attire, in the physical attributes or the changes in our physiology because of that. And then the social dynamics and structure that's a control mechanism that's based on materialism and sexual satisfaction and material prominence, or having a lot of bling to somehow convey a certain level of credibility to some. That's a language some speak and many understand. So the celebrity status is another one of them. So back to the Terminator kill grid. Yeah, and I'll hashtag DARPA and the CIA in there as well. And one of the reasons for that is simply because those are official government sources of information that are recognized as the authority on those particular topics of, how would I say, modern technology and weaponry and all of that. Not so easy to find a parking place sometimes. All right. So what I wanted, I've got one in the sun maybe. We'll see. So this right now is a pretty busy time of the year. In the Myrtle Beach, South Carolina area, the Grand Strand as it's fondly referred to, last year we had roughly 20 million guests. It's a lot of people. Because of that water use, there's a lot of the tanker trucks that come in that are carrying the hydrofluorosilicic acid, fluoride, and it's added to the water supply. And it not only has an effect on the water, it has a powerful effect on the people as well. It reduces cognitive function. It's the active ingredient that's in toothpaste. Sodium fluoride is one of them. So with that in mind, I wanted to simply bring up some of that so that you can understand that these intentional neurotoxins that are in our environment, well, they're there to hobble the adversary of this system. So I've featured a lot of videos that cover issues such as artificial intelligence and autonomous weapons, meaning a weapon system that doesn't need a human being to either operate it or activate a kill call, meaning that it can kill people without asking permission, much like the Terminator in the I'll Be Back. And that's one of the reasons why I hashtag The Matrix and I hashtag Terminator, is that those are two of the largest franchises of movies ever, and they've left an iconic perception of some symbolism that I believe would also be referred to as predictive programming. So if for those of my friends that are awake and aware, a lot of this stuff is like, oh yeah, it's going on, it's going down. And then some of the basics of the physics and properties of water. It's so what I wanted to say with the it's a 1/4 teaspoon per gallon of boron. Let me show you. That's the Dow House. The Dow House is supposedly a gentleman's club. It's not really. It's not a good thing. Anyway, what I did is I evened out the delivery mechanism for the baking soda. David Avocado Wolf on his page that I shared onto my Facebook talked about a teaspoon of baking soda a day is healthy for the body. Well, I'm getting at least that because I'm bathing in this type of water, drinking water, highly purified. I've got only a 2-gallon tank, storage tank on the RO, reverse osmosis carbon filtered system. The thing is, I've got an additional 10 5-gallon jugs. I rotate the 5 jugs for my bathing. And so 10 gallons of that water heated up on the stove takes 20 gallons of the room temperature water and gives me a wonderful therapeutic soak with a cup of boron and a cup of baking soda added to it, along with a 1/4 cup of coconut oil, organic coconut oil. And I'll drink a 1/4 cup of organic coconut oil a day too. It's good for the physiology. We've all got brains and skin and lungs and all of that, and it's really important to take good care of that. One of the challenges that a lot of people are unaware of, most of humanity, I believe, is of the harm that's caused by using commercial cleaners, and also like antiperspirants. Ooh, looks like I might be overheating on my lens of my camera. I gotta move it, I think. It'll do that. It'll do that if the sun is hitting it and I'm not getting enough air conditioning on it. Oh yeah. Okay. So the aluminum that's in the antiperspirants is right next to the lymph nodes, underneath the armpits. One of the problems with that is that's part of the lymphatic circulation system. The liquid system, it's not blood, it's water. And then we've got blood and water throughout our whole body as well. We're fearfully and wonderfully made. Let there be no doubt about that. And then in the context of all of that, what we have is an intentional toxification of the food, water, and yes, the chemtrails, the weather modification that's going on with that. Geoengineering are some of the technical terms for it. There's actually quite a few references for it. Atmospheric dispersal for weather modification, adding electricity through HAARP, and not limited to that. There's NextRad radars and cell towers, and who knows what else they have. When you're looking at a satellite dish and satellite TV, that's code for they're bouncing frequencies off of the dome, as best I understand. That's part of what's going on here, is the firmament, also known as the dome, is what they're bouncing the signals off of. So that's why the dishes are pointed at a certain direction. It works really well for a lot of things, especially keeping a whole lot of water from flooding us out. We had a great flood. Yeah, the letters that God wrote through Peter talk about it. They forget intentionally about the great flood. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. So the floodgates of heaven opened up, the fountains of the deep, and God caused it to start raining as well. 3 water sources. I'm going to take a drink and step outside for a moment, take a look around. And I wanted to show it to you as well. So it's really hot. It's over 100 degrees heat index, but a lower humidity, and about 90 degrees or so. And in a little bit of shade like this, it's pretty nice. Makes a big difference. And we've got storms rumbling all around us right now. And, you know, some might think, weather modification, no big deal. Well, it may not be a big deal unless it hits your area, your little corner of the world. What happens when you get a hurricane that comes in, or tornadoes? It's raining sawdust on me right now. They're trimming the palm trees, looking nice. But anyway, that weather modification is going on, has been going on for a long time, and it's patented. So if part of what I do is I'm alerting you to some critical information, and then another whole aspect of this is to encourage you to press on, and also to understand some of the most important information as well. The need to be born again and then to listen to God's word to find out if it looks like that's happened for you. Did you get the upgrade? Do you have the new nature? And I know I do, and I'm so grateful for that. I want to share that with others. God is not a cosmic killjoy taking the pleasure out of life. He actually provides a deep sense of satisfaction for obediently walking with Him. That's not available for the unregenerate, superficial tire kicker that's enslaved to their human nature and doesn't have the power of the Spirit to overcome that. It's not like you can be okay, so I simply want to say as well, I thought I was born again in 1982 when I came to believe. Some say believe and receive, like it happens just like that. Well, it maybe does for some. There was a delayed response. I was not born again until 2014. And the change in me is so significant, I actually wanted to mention that to you, and how I have a change in appetite, a change in power, and a amount of pleasure to obediently walk with God even in the midst of very difficult circumstances. Many of you are probably aware of that when we go public with what we find out to be true or believe to be true, there can be a lot of opposition. That's part of the control mechanism. That's a big part of that. Okay, so I'm going to digress back to practical. Oh, one of the other things was, if somebody says, let's say they're in their 50s, 60s, do you believe in global warming? You know, the Al Gore inconvenient truth, supposedly to tax all of our human activity. Yeah, well, what I'll typically do is I'll say, yeah, I believe there's warming. It isn't a globe, and it's intentionally caused by people that want to basically control humanity with their New World Order system. And George Herbert Walker Bush mentioned the New World Order. We will be successful, he says. And they're fabulously successful at creating money and influence out of thin air, and using the cybernetic collective of humanity to basically control them. We're all, many of us, most of us, I would say, in humanity now are being influenced by computer programming, whether it's television, handheld, portable computers, as in smartphones, cell phones, and then even the people that don't have that technology are relying on a world that does. That's generating the crops and the financial controls and the social issues and the demographics of the haves and the have-nots, and the way that all that's changing. And many of us are just we don't have the ability necessarily to change a lot of those macro issues, like they don't. I can't stop them from spraying the weather modification. However, I'm really grateful to not be dumping alcohol in my body and smoking pot and cigarettes. Who knows what's in the marijuana anyway? If you're all power to the people with marijuana, I would say it's a mystery for many. It may be legal in your area, state-wise, but it's basically still illegal federally in most areas. You can look at some, and then right now apparently that's a discussion where the sitting president, is talking about that, and there's politics around all that. What I would simply say is that I'm not on drugs, any of them, and I don't want to be. As a suicide survivor from 2005, I dealt with manic depression, bipolar. A lot of people do. In fact, most people have highs and lows. But it takes on epic proportions, especially when life circumstances are challenging, and sometimes the pharmacology exacerbates that, makes it a lot worse. So an example might be, hey, somebody wants to stop smoking cigarettes, they start taking Chantix and kill their family and themselves. It's happened. It's happened. And that's not even designed to as a mood altering drug. It's just designed apparently to help you stop smoking. What ends up happening is some people say there's side effects. I would simply say the more accurate view of it is that there's effects. They're not necessarily side effects, because some of the actual effects on humanity are designed that way. They're designed to make people have less cognitive function, maybe to be more impulsive and less controlling. They're maybe more manageable to the people around them, and that may be well and good until the person that's under the water behind the scenes is struggling with depression and suicidal thoughts and homicidal. That happened to me in 2005. So that's why I don't take pharmaceuticals. That's one of the big reasons why I'm drinking highly purified, carbon filtered, solar activated, reverse osmosis water that has all those chemicals removed, and I'm adding the element of boron, which is also and baking soda. Both of them alkalinize the body and apparently interrupt some of the fungal activity that happens with jock itch, yeast infections, toenail fungus, and psoriasis, dermatitis, all kinds of issues that happen. And one of the reasons why I mention this, is disgusting as some of that sounds, it's part of the human condition, our physiology. And in many cases, biological agents are being released in our environment that cause that to happen. So if you research, or I should say as I researched, like cures for dandruff or dermatitis or toenail fungus, or that any of the funguses, some of those fungicides are really powerful neurotoxins. So it's different than if you put a little baking soda, or I should say a little antiperspirant under your arm. It's I don't use those. I'll use a little coconut oil, baking soda, and now boron as well. So it's like my bath water. I'll take some of that in my exfoliating glove and sponge off, wipe off underneath my arms a few times a day. One of the other things, as I give myself a deep tissue dermal massage and more, the water that absorbs in through the skin, it's osmosis. So it by the process of osmosis, the purified water with the healthy nutrients of sodium bicarbonate, baking soda, and boron are going into the skin and making an environment that the fungus does not want to grow. It can't. So you might think, well, that doesn't matter. Well, does it? How about this? How about a candida overgrowth in the body causes, it wants food, and it loves sugar. And from what I understand, cancer is a fungus. There's a doctor out of Italy. I had his video on my channel where he talked about, actually he injected purified water and sodium bicarbonate in cancerous tumors, and it killed them. So instead of having a mastectomy, how about if you could have an injection of baking soda that kills the overgrowth of the cancer? My mother died of breast cancer in 1993. September 28th is her death date. And what she told me was chilling. She said, Bobby, if the cancer doesn't get you the treatment, well, she was right. She was right. It's criminal, and I'm outing that system as well. The conventional medical industrial complex is designed as part of the control mechanism of humanity. Think about it. What happens if you get cancer? Well, you got to have the insurance to get the overpriced toxic treatment that's going to further extract money out of your bank account and enslave you to the idea that you've got to have the insurance to have that kind of treatment. Well, if you can basically reduce cancer causing toxins out of your body, you can basically tell them to shove off. They can keep their insurance in their system and all of that. Basically, that's what I'm doing too. They can use the pharmaceuticals for suppositories as far as I'm concerned. They can shove them. And that's why I talk about it the way I do. I actually enjoy outing this corrupt system of control because it makes a difference. One of the people I reached out today, I got a little choked up this morning. He's struggling with Morgellons. It's a fibrous discharge of nano self-assembling fibers. I used to have them coming out of my skin. The baking, once I was born again, the baking soda and being born again evidently killed that Morgellons. You can look it up, Morgellons. Clifford Carnicom basically enlightened me on a lot of the aspects of the chemtrails, atmospheric dispersal, geoengineering, and it's a multifaceted, weaponized contamination of our biosphere. We've got a firmament up above us, and within this contained environment, they're dispersing a wide variety of chemical neurotoxins that affect our whole experience, our whole life experience. And keep in mind that since they create money out of thin air, and money makes the world go around, right? Well, the world is stationary. The earth doesn't move. However, influence moves all around the world through high-powered computer systems that basically affect the availability of money or the lack of availability of money. In the 80s, when we had a crisis of interest rates, a lot of farmers lost their farms, committed suicide, people lost their houses. It was a runaway inflation. So this, I remember in the 70s, I remember a lot of things like a photograph or a video. I've got a photographic memory. Many of us do. It doesn't mean I can read a phone book and recite it to you. That's silly. I don't need to do that. What I do remember is when they said the Federal Reserve is expanding the money supply, they would show sheets of money rolling through a printing press, kind of like when they would show the newspapers and the print running through these systems of generating the newspaper. Now, somebody like me, who is that? Me, what I can do, because there's not a whole lot like me. I mean, there's a lot of truth tellers, I get that. I have a unique way of doing it, and that's what I bring to the table. What I can do is grab my phone, go live at a moment, talk about information that came to my attention in my top 20. The videos talking about where they bleep out the words of HAARP, Morgellons, Carnicom Institute. You won't even see Carnicom Institute on that video. I knew who it was. I know who Clifford Carnicom is. I'm not afraid to say his name. I'm not afraid to say my name, to hashtag it. If you want, let me show you something here. If you want YouTube Truth stickers, yeah, I've got these stickers. I've got that one right there, but I also have them on sheets here, and I'll come on out here and go ahead and use my slicer to generate those, to slice them apart. If you want them, you could send a self-addressed stamped envelope to 169 Cloverleaf Drive, Longs, South Carolina, 29568. Should you like to call me, you can call me anytime, day or night. 1-843-504-1776. My Skype handle is hashtag YouTube Truth. I believe it's got the hashtag, or it just may be YouTube Truth. I don't use Skype that much. and of course the Facebook Messenger program. That's how I received the information that I got from a friend. Keep in mind, this is part of how this works out. It isn't only, now my liked videos, I've got over 2,800 videos. If you create or share a video that I like and I share it, I will many times add it to my liked video playlist, and I may copy and paste my liked video playlist on a comment. Now I understand most of us that have a YouTube channel, that will not be posted right away. It'll let me see it when I do it, but it's in your folder of many times. The comment is being withheld to see if you approve of it. If I put a hashtag Robert Forsch or a hashtag any hashtag in a comment, it's likely going to let me see it, and it looks like it's there. Well, in some cases it actually is, and I know that because people are commenting on it. Okay, but most channels will not allow a hashtag or a hyperlink to be on a comment in real time. Some channels allow it. I love it when they do that. Okay, so the reason why I say all that is that I have people that reach out to me and send me a lot of information. And it doesn't mean if you've sent me something and I didn't add it to my videos or talk about it that I didn't think it was important. It may be that I haven't seen it. One of the dynamics, because of what I do and who I am and how people share things with me and either like or hate what I do, I'll get well over 1,000 notifications a day, and I can't keep up with that. I try to keep up with it as much as I can. So there are some that are believing that I'm a conspiracy wacko and that I've got nothing for them to consider. It's unfortunate for them, because those of us that are aware we don't live on a spinning water sphere are also aware that this battle we're in is far bigger than the shape of the earth. The shape of the earth is almost like a bit of a dashboard light on the sincerity of somebody wanting to know the truth, to endure the public ridicule of being vocal about one of the biggest lies ever perpetrated on humanity. The Santa lie, that was a big one. Santa lies, NASA lies, Satan lies. Most of my friends, family, up until I was the age of 7, were reinforcing the Santa deception, including news presenters and weather presenters showing radar imagery, supposedly, of Santa and his flying freaking reindeer flying over Lake Michigan, and gosh, I hope he brings me my wish list instead of a lump of coal. And it wasn't a once a year thing where I would hear that. I remember my mom vividly saying, it's hard to think about. My mom and dad and brother riding in the car, and I was a little boy, and beautiful sunset, and she would say, "Oh, look, Santa's baking cookies." How innocent. Just a subtle reminder. If I hesitated to do my chores, my mom or dad would say, "Remember, Santa's watching." Santa wasn't watching. No. As powerful as artificial intelligence is, God is, and so that's partial knowing. Knows a lot. You can listen to some of the numbers they're saying about what it can do. Well, God knows everything. The creator of this world. I know him as Yahweh, Yeshua, the living word, the living water, the great I am, the Alpha and Omega, the bread of life, the gate, the door, Jesus Christ. In the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. All things were created by Him, for Him, through Him. Whenever I hear when I hear something, whether it's coming through an advertisement or somebody just talking to me, or I'm thinking about something, the self-talk is really important too. What am I thinking about? Is it true? Is it true? Somebody says something, is it a flat Earth? Well, it's not exactly flat. We've got mountains over 5.5 miles tall. The video I talked about earlier today, it was so funny. The guy did the spinning pizza with Play-Doh on it, the flat Earth that's supposedly moving, flying through space. Well, the biblical proclamation is the Earth doesn't move, the sun, moon, and stars do, and we've got a firmament up above us. The reason why all that matters is the self-appointed experts that are promoting a godless cosmic Big Bang are presenting a false reality that a lot of people are basing their eternity on. Now, Robbie Davidson of Celebrate Truth has been instrumental in helping me understand early on a lot of the dynamics of the shape of the Earth with the global eye, and more recently Impossible, and so many more videos as well. One of the other videos he released today, I saw it early this morning. He was talking about it's about 15 minutes, and I need to watch it again. It was so powerful, talking about the social dynamics and how science is basically the self-appointed experts on basically all things that are really important to us, and yet they're not even using the scientific method, the research and the repeatable observations, the results, repeatable results. So I'm real big into real science. If it doesn't work, I don't want to do it. Why would I? So I talked about a lot here. What I wanted to digress for just a moment, rather than just swallow my baking soda when I brush my teeth, if I smooth out the delivery mechanism with the gallon of water I drink a day or so, maybe I'm actually at about two gallons of liquid a day that I'm drinking. And so even in the bath water, sometimes I'll have magnesium sulfate. And the reason why I mention that is because the body is like a sponge and will absorb that. If I put baking soda and boron in the bath water, it'll kill my plants. It's an anti-fungus. It's a anti-plant growth thing. Okay, fungus is like a little mini plant of sorts. But the baking soda will kill it. The magnesium sulfate causes it to grow. So there may be a day a week. Once I have all this, when I first did the video yesterday, I had it titled "Killing My Fungus" or "Killing My Parasites." Well, it's a big deal. Parasites cancer, for example, will grow so much, left untreated, it will kill the host, the person. Now, treating it, one of the ways that, from what I understand, we all have the potential to have cancer. There's a certain amount of cancer cells in a body. How would I know that? I don't know. But if I have something on my skin that doesn't look right and it's like a little bump or something, sometimes I'll hit it with a shaver, the ProGlide that I use. I don't like the Gillette mindset or their public perspectives on some things, but the shaver's good. So the reason why I mention that is if I break the surface of the skin a little bit, if it's the precancerous growth, like a little gelatinous little outpost of mutant cells, hey, when the baking soda and boron hits it, it kills it. Isn't that special? And I know what this stuff looks like. The reason I found out about it, I remember as a teenager eating a lot of candy. I was a sugarholic. I loved chocolate bars and candy. I was a sugar junkie. Well, I know what it was like to have a pimple. Pimples don't have polyfibers like the foam fill of a pillow or fabric, little, and these things, the gentleman who, if you hashtag and search Morgellons, there's people that have put these things under a microscope and they're responsive to electrical impulses. We're electrically operated, by the way. Not like maybe some are more remote controlled than they realize, but consider this. We have what's called a defibrillator, an AED. If somebody has a heart attack and their heart stops, a lot of the major companies like Walmart's or Costco's, Sam's Clubs, and other places in a glass case on the wall have a medical device that will resuscitate the individual. We have electricity all around us, a toroidal field of the Earth itself. The atmosphere is positively charged. The ground is negatively charged as it's grounded. When we look at the atmosphere and see lightning, storms, I'll feature videos that show that. Storms, time lapse of beautiful storm systems in that. So we've got electricity all around us, and then we've got the power grid as well. And for example, Nikola Tesla helped pioneer and generate the power grid as we know it today. And you can look at that. I know all about it. Water, basically the water changing state and seeking level runs the whole power grid. So when I heat up this water on the stove and it boils, it creates steam. We had steam locomotives. Currently today we've got steam turbines that generate electricity, the movement of those turbines. We've got gravity, they call it. It's water seeking its level, it's buoyancy. When we've got a reservoir and a dam and then the water moving turbines that generate electricity. So there's nuclear power, radioactive generated, coal, natural gas, oil. You can also heat up water with the sun. So that's another way of doing it. And then we've got, for example, I have thought about ways of integrating and helping to handle some of the power generation and distribution challenges our world has. By the way, artificial intelligence, as God allows it, God allows Satan to do stuff, he could interrupt the power creation, electrical generation, or distribution wherever God allows. Imagine a major metropolitan area without electricity any time of the year would be very difficult. For a sustained period of time, it could be fatal. In a time where, let's say, in the winter in North America or wherever winter is, if the power were shut off for a week and they hit us with a weather system that has a 110 below wind chill like we had in the Midwest this past winter, well, it'd be a huge culling of that whole population. You don't need to be the power doesn't need to be out for a year to lose 90% of the population. All you need is to have it at a time when they would freeze to death. It'd make it convenient. You could handle all the bodies differently. It's kind of weird and it's kind of macabre, but it's, I believe, the reality of it. I'm not all bummed out about this, by the way. We're all eternal beings having a temporary human experience. 7 people per second, well over 100 million people per year no longer have the human experience. I encourage everybody to seek the truth with all your heart because it matters for eternity. Now check this out. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 says to everybody forever, they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. For this reason, God sends them a powerful delusion. So people are going to believe the lie they want to believe. What I bring to the table is a unwavering desire to do what I'm created to do. To, before I came out and did this today, two young men stopped at my house and wanted some stickers. We talked for a while. They're friends. I appreciate the encouragement that I have from friends and family all over this world, all over this stationary and level earth. One of the things that I want you to keep in mind, there would be no level anywhere if it were moving. So like I talked about this morning, Daryl Marble took a level, or he used, I believe, his phone, actually took a level on a plane, an airplane. Water is a level. You could take your natural level like this, a spirit level, and set it on the window ledge, your counter, and it'll just stay there. The bubble will just stay there. If all the spinning, wobbling, and gyrating, it's like almost 1.5 million miles an hour hurling through the galaxy, over 1,038 mile per hour rotation at the equator, spiraling in multiple directions, yet do you feel yourself spinning, wobbling, or gyrating? I was heard saying that a couple years ago at the first Flat Earth conference. And that particular comment went viral. I would say, it's at least been heard close to 40 million times in a variety of venues. And then I've had the opportunity to capture the sun appearing in the clouds. Gentleman wanted to park behind me. Now I'm in the sun. It's all good. Let's see. Is that enough for you, do you think?
That's good. Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. So, yeah, that's nice. I'm gonna see if I can find any more shade parking around here. Not so much. It got a little complicated around here. It's $2 an hour parking now, and so with that in mind, it's a little bit more challenging. This is a free parking spot. I think what I'm going to do is drive a little bit, or at least turn so I have this in the shade. And I need more cool and some more charging. All right. I've got a favorite spot up there. I think I'm going to head that way. Maybe somebody will pull out. Oh, I think I found a spot. That's awesome. There we go. Not bad. We've got a lot of gift shops and candy stores here, and of course restaurants. This is a great area, actually. I really enjoy it here. But now I've got like full shade. That is so cool. Literally. But I want to get myself out of the way so I don't get smacked into. And then we get people from all over. That is just so cool. The fact that I've got the car labeled up, I think a lot of you have seen it, but I just had some waves from people that saw the Truthmobile. It's really, really special. I mean, I really enjoy getting to do what I get to do. I'll bring the spinning water ball out, show people, I'll pour water over it. It's kind of funny. I'm going to flip this around and let you see what it looks like right where I am. This is one of the new ice cream shops, and that's the owner right there, Shalami. And it's been really a privilege to get to know a lot of the local business owners, and it's been really special to enjoy doing this. So I think what I'm going to do is take us for a little bit of a drive. A little bit. So now I'm going into a regulated parking lot that's $2 an hour. And if I needed to spend it, I would. I just don't need to at the time. On Thursday nights, they'll have the concerts here. And right now, it looks like we've got about a 20-mile-an-hour wind or so. Pretty powerful. The OD pavilion there. And it's a place where there's video games and amusement park rides for children mostly. Just wanted to show you that real quick. So down here, just about 2 miles away, is where I captured the sun appearing in the clouds. I call it the local sun. I've hashtagged that. And it appears just as Job 37 talks about. The sun is in the midst of the clouds. And then in Joshua 10, God stopped both the sun and the moon from moving. You can read the account of that. So what that essentially means is there's quite a bit of mystery with the sun and the moon, and I've got many hours of video and thousands of hours of chasing after the sun and the moon in a variety of sunrises, sunsets, moonrises, moonsets, and I know that the moon is not a perfect sphere. I've got evidence of it. Some people won't see it. They'll say I'm crazy. Oh well. Oh well. I've got video proof of what I'm talking about. And then, so like out of my 2,850 videos, I've produced about 1,500 of them where I'll talk about it. I want to drive traffic to my channel so people can take a look at the information I'm talking about. I can comment on another video. So like Stanley Monteith talked about the New World Order, the Illuminati, the system of the world. He's highly respected. He's transitioned, by the way. And yet when he was talking about how to handle some of the financial challenges in the world that we're living in now, at that time he mentioned gold and silver, precious metals, and though that can be helpful, if you don't have enough toilet paper and tuna on hand, you might want to get that taken care of first. And consumable food, I say that kind of joking and yet very serious. It's good to have the staple items that you're gonna use, that you're gonna need, because the prices of all those consumables typically are not going down. It's what has gone down, consider this, would be the technology in some respects. But the access to it can be kind of expensive. You know, like if you get I've got an iPhone 10 and with a lot of memory on it. I use it for an important outreach. And then the cell plan to make that happen. T-Mobile now. AT&T has the globe in their logo, of course, and yet they were a bit more expensive and not so easy to work with. I'm going to flip this around and show you. This is Towers on the Grove right there. It's the Wyndham. So a lot of people will come here for a timeshare tour, a 3-hour tour. Yeah, right. Get ready. A lot of people wish they didn't get the timeshare tour. I've got free parking down by the Prince Resort. Not just me, anybody. The first 2 levels of the parking ramp, so it's full shade. Pretty nice. You know, when it's like this, it's like just a beautiful day. Apparently no problems. Imagine if New York had a well, let's say we had a massive power outage in the country and a major event. Let's say an September 9/11 level event, whatever that might be. You could fill in the blank. I'm sure a lot of people would take the boogie boards and beach chairs out of their vehicle and run over and load up with food and water at the local stores, all of them. They would clear the water and food out of the shelves just like that. So because of the infrastructure that we have here, we've got generators in the hotels. We've got a pretty robust set of distribution of food and supplies. You know, all the normal, a lot of extra Walmarts because of that, and the Home Depots and Lowe's and other grocery chains as well. But all of those the shelves could be cleared quickly. When we had the hurricane last year, Hurricane Florence, one of the disturbing events was the reality that we didn't have a bunch of fuel delivery vehicles coming in here. When we have, for example, the Memorial Day weekend, there's a lot of fuel distribution that comes on in to cover for the weekend. So I bring that up because sometimes there's issues that are conspicuous by their absence or conspicuous by their presence. On 9/11 we saw that. Conspicuous by its absence was, we didn't have footage of what really hit the Pentagon. We had a fireball. That was disturbing. And so what actually was it? What actually hit the Pentagon? Well, I took a photo of actually the Pentagon before it caved in, and it was clearly a smaller hole. It's on my photo album. And then I put the video that talked about 9/11 of 2001. So some of those things we can do. I've been doing it for years. Conspicuous by its presence, the boarding pass of Muhammad Atta after that fireball of supposedly a plane hitting one of the towers. Well, they've got CGI imagery that can make it look like a plane hit it. There's plenty of documentaries that indicate that there were no planes. Oh well. I'm not a crazy guy to not go along with the official story. They're lying. Friends over there. So, is it true? Whatever it is that we hear. One of the things that I've talked about more recently and hashtagged it, mentioned it, is to research reality. What is reality? What is truth? Well, many of you who know me know what I believe I say about it quite a bit, what I believe the truth is. And so there's the truth, and then there's everything else. This is actually a pretty cool place right here, literally. Not an easy park, but I wanted to get in here for a little bit. When we had Hurricane Florence, we had over 100-mile-an-hour winds here. Yeah, that's what the Truth Mobile looks like. So that was seen at the conference in Denver, and at the first Flat Earth conference I had it labeled up with Bible.com on there. So one of the practical things is, well, it's pretty calm over here. There's all this steel reinforced concrete protecting me from the wind flow. Pretty nice. To think outside the box, I could actually take my motorcycle up the elevator if I had to, if there was for whatever reason, if I ever needed to. That doesn't work with the car, obviously. Because of liability reasons, they didn't allow us to park cars in here when we had the hurricane. So I've got another spot that I can go to kind of quickly, and I'm going to do that right now. It's the Paradise, actually the Sunrise Point. I've actually done some video from there. Really beautiful area, condos. And one of the videos that I shot, it was probably about 16 degrees and about the same humidity, and it was a real mysterious moonrise. One of the things that I found out is I give myself plenty of time. Doesn't freak me out. And I used to be one of these really, I'm pretty intense, but I'm not like freaked out about things taking longer than I would maybe like them to. Kind of go with the flow. Before I go to the Sunrise Point, I wanted to, well, let's see. Yeah, I'm going to head over to the Coastal Preserve for a moment. And it's obvious that there's a lower tide situation right now. So that's part of the mystery with our world is the tidal activity. It could be a combination of the fountains of the deep and some activity with the movement of the sun and the moon. One of the things is that do you know how much a gallon of water weighs? That depends on the temperature. For example, on my water jug, the gallon water jug that I show quite a bit, it will vary about 1 ounce between 70-degree fill temperature, and it warms up to about 110 to 120 in the sun. And then that'll pressurize the jug, the water leaves, and then when I bring it back in the house, it'll be obvious there's 1 ounce of water missing. You can check it out if you care to. It's real science. That water seeking its level through evaporation, condensation, and of course precipitation in all its forms: rain, snow, sleet, fog. We'll have different climate conditions. This is sea level. Obviously, I've proven that. I've shown it to you. And then we've got the delayed snow melt. Looks like a dad and a couple of kids right there. Pretty cool. All the little puddles, well, they're not just flat, they're level. Even in the, so I'm going to show you something, and I've got photos of it. That building right there, that's those are the reflections in all the little puddles. And I've zoomed in on it. On my Facebook photo album, you can check it out if you care to. And what I used the photo album for was a place to copy and paste documentaries. So I have a photo of what's called Pinocchio's nose. It was a plane, an airplane, supposedly flying through one of the buildings, the second tower that was hit, supposedly. Well, we got documentaries that show a concrete truck filled with concrete can't go through a concrete wall. It'll just smash into it. No matter how fast you fly an airplane, it's not going to fly through and have the nose cone of the plane undamaged. Got photos of the airplanes all dented up and crumbled because they hit birds. You're not going to fly a plane through steel reinforced concrete. It's not going to happen, except in the imagination. So seeing is believing. What? What do we see? What do we believe about what we see? Is what we believe true? Or are we told it's true by those that want to present a false reality? And therein lies the problem of mind control. Put this in some of my videos. I'm going to do it again. It's a bit of a living meme. It's a dead end sign with no turnaround right there. That's what it says, dead end and no turnaround. So earlier today, because of rain, there was a whole bunch of water piled up right where I'll show you. I've got video of it right there. There was a bunch of water. I showed the reflection of the Prince Resort. Well, the water evaporated, and with the wind moving it, the sun will cause the water to evaporate. That's that water seeking its level I talk about. It isn't just the level in a bubble level. It's the water evaporating and condensing and precipitating. And then we've got other water seeking its level in our breathing, respiration. Well, where will you spend eternity when you can't fog a mirror? It's a bit windy. I don't think I'm going to be able to show you what I want to here. So I'll just keep moving on. What I will show you, some of the times that I've got beautiful mirrored reflections there, not so much because of all the wind. It's reflecting differently. The sun comes up in the middle of the view there, this time of the year. And then it'll come up in the middle of over the ocean in the winter. So I've got video evidence of that. Before I found out that the Earth wasn't a globe, I was born again in 2014, and then early into 2015 is when I found out that, actually it was 2016, pardon me, February 16th of 2016. I knew we didn't live on a globe at that point. I had seen conclusive evidence, and I never even thought to consider otherwise. Just like the little boy that found out that the Santa lie. I was, I was in my 50s, and, I thought it odd. I remember there was a point in time when I was a young boy, and I thought, it sure seems odd that people could live upside down in relationship to other people. It never made sense to me. I just never really gave it much thought. I was told that there was gravity, and that made that all work out. Well, when I found out the system of control is projecting a false reality on humanity to manage them, to manage us. Okay, so one of the people I actually know was working to have implantable chips to manage the herd. Dr. Mead in Hortonville, Wisconsin. I like to do this. I like to let people go. Let them go. Yeah. There we go. Okay, so I didn't realize when he was talking about massive farms that would have like 10,000 cows, they needed to know their gestation, not their gestation, but when they were needing to be inseminated, they have artificial insemination of cows. And then they've got veterinarians that go around and do that. I saw it. I saw it when I was a 10-year-old, they were doing it. Do you think and they didn't limit it to cows. The veterinarians probably didn't deal with the humans, but Dr. Mead's son, Steve Mead, I went to school with him. Brilliant man. He was one of the smartest kids in our school, and he's He was a banker, probably still is, in Minnesota. And I didn't understand the banking system then. I understand it a bit more now. They create money out of thin air. About that. Yeah. So higher is drier. Hurricane Florence flooded over the road I was on about a couple of feet. Hurricane Matthew flooded over that coastal preserve, and the road I was on there about 5 feet over the road at that location. The problem is you can go on up, or I can. Maybe you're living in another country. I don't know. But we could go up higher here and get out of the storm surge. But then what do you do? What then? Because that water will be up for a while, and it can be really tough to get out. That's one of the issues. So what's nice about this location, I can just take a few minutes and show you what it looks like here. I've got video that I shot from right here. Notice how it gets quiet when I just have that as my little windbreak. So we've got the families. It's a little family right there. Let's zoom in on them if I can. I gotta wait just a moment. There we go. So one of the things that I asked Apple, I called Apple about my phone. I wanted to know at 6 feet off of the sea level, what is the width of the view to the distance that the phone sees, where I'm showing you right now. And there was no curve there. And then I've taken photos showing that there would be, that lines up. So we have all of that information, the empirical evidence. I mean, there it is right in front of you. And you can have as long of a line as you want. It's a stationary level plane is what we live on. And for some of you, that might be information to consider. And so what happens with some people is they'll hear new information and it just doesn't work for them. Well, this is how I found it. I found it to be a bit of a mess. And so what I'll keep on doing is exposing what I believe the reality to be, and then let everybody else deal with what they do with that. So I'm not responsible for the results of making this information available. I'm just responsible for the obedience to do it. And that's why I do this. It's, although I care about the people, I care even more about obediently doing what I'm created to do. Why would I do anything else? It's not going to satisfy if I'm doing my own thing. So this morning I talked about Bill Nye being a pervert, and he was in a video, Bill Nye Saves the World, and he's talking about all this gender fluidity. It's not right. It's not something that is biblical or biblically obedient. It's in the Bible, as in the days of Noah, the decadence that we see in society. It was on the Celebration Truth video, that's Celebrate Truth video that Robbie shared through his channel. And I was very impressed by it. Made a big difference. Very articulate, the gentleman who talked about what he was talking about. Now, I've elaborated on some of the details of that. So, one of the things to consider is what will it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his soul? That's one of the things to think about. Where will you spend eternity and why? And the great news is all of God's children will absolutely be born again. And since I don't know who they are, I hand out this invitation to everybody to hear, share, and of course, obey God's word, which is humanly impossible to do. It cannot be done because the Holy Spirit needs to do what is impossible for us to do, humanly speaking. That's all. That truth never changes. So I've got different things that I say that articulate what I believe the reality to be. And I care enough about my mission in life to carry it out. So this is the point out in Cherry Grove. I don't think I'm going to be going out there. It's too windy. There will be a lot of sand blowing around, and I think I'm about out of battery, but I just wanted to take us on down. There's a dog taking a couple for a walk. This is my favorite spot, but my phone is in the sun, so it'll overheat like right away. What I wanted to do is thank you so much for your public and private encouragement. I'll take us on down to the the main street, see what's going on out there. So because I added the boron and the baking soda to my water, it's also in my coffee as well. So that's one of the things that I can do to make the coffee not so acid. And you can get pH strips and test your saliva. Cancer thrives apparently in an acidic environment, not so much in an alkaline environment. Just some important details to know. So the water cleanses the environment all around us. The water cleanses our physiology inside and out. It's actually a really big deal to have an effective working circulation system, plenty of water. If you dehydrate, you're going to die. It's just the way it is. We need water. And then the reason I mention exfoliating, scrubbing with the sloughing off all the dead skin, is that the evaporation of that provides a cooling effect. It's our perspiration. We've got the respiration where the water leaves our lungs. I've talked about this aspect of it too. We have cats, the naked kitties. Maybe you've seen them. Sphinx kitties. rather than use the scoopable cat litter that has a clumping effect when it gets wet, if you breathe in, or when I was breathing in the cat litter dust or the cats, it's very unhealthy for the lungs, and it reduces the capacity of the lungs to absorb oxygen. Yeah. Is that an accident? Well, now I'm using pine pellets. I get them at Tractor Supply Company. It's healthier and less expensive. Smells nice. It's a win-win situation. That's one of the reasons why I talk about this stuff, is because understanding that we're in a Terminator kill grid, that the system wants to hobble humanity and reduce the population by apparently over 90%. That means a lot of people got to go. Ted Turner talking about too many useless eaters. Oh well. Oh well. There was a time in the industrial age when the United States was one of the major manufacturing centers of the world. That's now been moved over to China. I'm sure you've noticed it. You should know that. It's not by accident that the manufacturing centers move around in different locations. None of this stuff happens by accident. So the New World Order, the NWO, not the wrestling, the New World Order, that's a big deal. That's what we're looking at right now, are the effects of that. Oh, you know what? My phone is way too much in the sun right now. I get a few minutes of that and it'll just heat right up. So those are clam beds. One of the practical things, it's good to have a little hydrogen peroxide around to kill bacteria infection. You could get gangrene and lose a foot, lose a leg, lose your life. Walk out there barefoot, get some of that bacteria in your system. What happens if you can't run to the doctor? I've got friends that have lost legs, lost their feet, lost their legs because of diabetes. The way the body was metabolizing food was not healthy, and the dietary activity was not healthy. The diabetes was regulatable by dietary choices, and unfortunately there wasn't an adherence to that. In other words, they were eaten for entertainment, not for health. So all of my consumption is very deliberate. I want healthy nutrients in, toxic stuff out of and off of my body. And then the most important nutrient is the Word of God, as far as I'm concerned. And then that's the information. And that's the standard by which I evaluate other information. If it disagrees with what I believe Scripture to say, then I believe it's a deception. A classic example would be when God's Word says the earth doesn't move and the sun, moon, and stars do. I believe that's true, especially to add to that, that's what I observe. That's empirical evidence that I see. And to add to that, the astronomical priests of the godless cosmic Big Bang of NASA and that whole regime that is promoting that. They're liars. They're lying, and I ain't buying. That was one of the other things that millions of people heard me say. Who's behind this? Well, Satan. Yeah, that's one thing. Satan, one entity. Keep in mind that, as I said in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. For this reason, God sends them a powerful delusion. So it's more than Satan. It's actually God helping people to, whoa, sorry about that. Help, uh-oh. I think I might have lost my broadcast. Something weird happened. Okay. Boy, it can't take much of that. I don't know if I'm out. I think I might have stopped my broadcast.